All right.
We are recording. Now we'll fill for a minute. What's something silly we can do for the people listening on YouTube? Because I don't actually do any editing on YouTube.
Um,
Oh, do you want to know what the latest craze is?
the Monster Mash.
No.
That is a
I
great
didn't-
smash.
Pennsylvania
Though.
Twist.
The students have been informing me that the latest thing is about 6 or 7.
6 or 7 what?
I've seen people make jokes about that, but I don't know the origin of it.
You remember the whole 21 thing?
What in the
What's 10
hell are
plus
you
9?
talking about?
21? Yeah, the fact that I'm having to explain this tells you how, like, yeah.
I don't understand
There were
what we're
apparently
doing
some
right now.
TikTok or some videos where, like, the OG version was the 21, where it was a video of a kid who they were like, what's 9 plus 10? And the little kid goes, 21? And it became a thing for about a year. And the current one is 6 or 7.
For about a year.
Juggling
Okay.
your hands like you're like it's 6 or 7. And it's apparently it's the latest thing where a video of someone doing 6 or 7, and it's the thing lighting up what my kids joke about. They write
Okay.
6, 7 on my boards,
So
and so yeah.
I
I
I don't want to sound like an old person, although I am. But I'm only going to sound like an old person for a second because I'm then going to go back. Kids these days are stupid.
Those 3 seconds.
But kids all the time were stupid. When we were kids, we liked stupid crap.
Oh yeah.
But it was our stupid
Yeah.
crap, so we understood it.
yeah. I don't. Sure. Yes.
No, you did. You like stuff that was stupid.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure. This is just really beyond me. I just kept waiting for him to say 6 or 7. What? Like 6 or 7 beers?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the equivalent of, repeating a line from some TV show that everyone watched and thought
Yeah.
was funny.
Did I do that? Jay Spencer says the crap I liked wasn't stupid, it was awesome. No, Jay Spencer, when you were a kid, the crap you liked was stupid. Objectively
I mean,
speaking.
someone
What
may
are
have
No,
you
your
short
parents
doing?
People older than you definitely thought it was stupid.
Yeah, and Jay Spencer's older than us. So like the crap we thought was awesome, which was stupid, he already thought was stupid. It was awesome to you. It was not awesome in a vacuum. Anyway, there we go. There's something for the YouTube listeners. Thank you for doing this on YouTube, where there's some eventual tiny amount of monetary compensation that I might get maybe one day eventually.
Yeah, for having to explain random stuff that's going on right now and be like, okay, here's the current thing. Discuss.
I will say though, the stupid crap that we liked when we were kids was at least like created by people. TikTok is just created by any idiot that it exists. So it is a worse form of stupid than our stupid was. There, now I sound like an old person again.
There we
There
go.
you go.
At least, like I said, our stuff had effort put into it. The TikTok. There was a reason it's all referred to as brain rot.
Yep.
Anyway, my buddy Zach keeps randomly sending me like TikTok links, and I'm like, I can't watch that. It won't play without the app anymore. He's like, oh, well, just download the app. I'm like, you go to hell. He's like, I make TikToks. I'm like, don't care. Anyway. Let's start the show. Here we go. That was 5 minutes of pre-YouTube stuff accidentally. Or pre-audio, whatever. Here we go. Ow, jam! Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is, apparently, episode 735 of the Mana Pool. And I don't know how I feel about that. But I'm Chewy. And if I was some manner of writing, I think I would be the back of a cereal box. I have these other dorks here, though.
Yeah, I'm Brian. I'm the lead rambler, tangent master, talk a whole lot kind of guy. And I would definitely be a game instruction manual back in the 1980s, 1990s when those things were awesome. I'm not saying I'm awesome. I'm just saying that would be like my final form. Because instruction manuals were awesome.
Okay. I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy, and I was also gonna instinctively say instruction manual, but how about instead a poorly cross-referenced encyclopedia?
Oh. You see, kids,
And-
encyclopedias were what we bought before Wikipedia. And a man
they
would
came
come
in
to your door and sell them.
3 giant books that you had to buy, and they were only
3?
good for a couple of years before you had to buy some new ones. And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group, and I've got my hand in my face, just shaking my head. If I was a book, I would either be a player's guide on how to play a game, or I would be a Lego construction book saying, here's the thing you're going to build. This piece goes there. That piece goes there.
See, now you're a teacher, so that really fits well with you, I think.
So that was like, yeah, I feel like that definitely falls into my wheelhouse.
Just real quick, jumping back to Brian's video game instruction manual, it drives me up the wall when I listen to people today complain about how old games, well, they just never tell you that in the game anywhere. Yeah, they didn't, because you had to read the book. And these are people my age who were playing games back then, and I keep hearing them say, oh, they never explained that anywhere in the game. Like, yeah, they didn't, because they didn't have tutorials back then. You had the book right there that you would read in the car on the way home. You were around for that. Get it together,
you
man.
Talk to everybody. You couldn't just be like, I'm just gonna go as you had to talk to everybody and look for clues on how to do something.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were going at the angle or you had, an older brother or one of your friends who had already played it and read the instruction manual explain it to you.
Yeah,
those two.
It's just like I'm hearing.
Or you would go out and hang out with your friends, be like, let's play this. And you would hand off the controller, and then by sheer trial and error, you guys collectively would figure it out.
Okay, you guys are misinterpreting me here.
Okay.
I'm not talking
I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm not talking like strategy guides. I'm talking like basic mechanics of the game.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
We know.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Things
I know,
that
I'm
We're elaborating.
You read the book and it's like, oh, if you do this, then this happens, and oh, that's what that meter's for, and that's how you do. Oh, okay, cool. But then you pick up the game and you do it because the book told you, because the game itself doesn't tell you. Because in the 8 and 16-bit era, there was no room for explanations. It was amazing it fit on the cartridge at all, you idiot.
Yeah. No, I sometime
One thing
in the
I remember.
last. Am I muted?
No,
No,
we're talking over you for a change.
Oh, that's why. Okay. I was just gonna say that sometime in the last week or so, I don't remember whose channel it was, but I was watching somebody review a video game, and they said, yeah, back in the day, you couldn't get this from a menu. You had to read the book. And I never read the instruction manual until I'd beaten the game. And I'm like, I'm not going to watch
That
your
took a
video
long time.
anymore.
Yeah,
that's-
that
Because
means
I'm not going to
that means it
I'm
took
not
you
gonna
8
support
times
you.
as long as normal people.
Yeah.
Mike, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, I remember my brother. He was still a little kid when he first got the Pokemon for Game Boy. So on the page of the instruction manual where it talks about rare Pokemon that only appear once and never again, there happens to be illustrations of an Abra and a Zubat on that page, just for like no particular reason. He thought that meant they were some of those rare Pokemon that never appear again. So like when he first entered Mount Moon, it's like a Zubat pops up in his face, and he tried to catch it. It got away. He shut his Game Boy off and turned it back on and reloaded his save. Went back and did that like 3 times in a row before he finally caught a Zubat. And then, continuing through Mount Moon, Zubat, 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 Zubat. He was so mad. He was
That is
so
great. Now, Abras actually only show up in like one area, so that makes sense. But the Zubat. Oh, and then he walked another 3 feet, and there was another Zubat.
Yeah.
Like, I've never played a Pokemon game in my life, and even I know that. It's 10 zillion Zubats. You're gonna be lousy with Zubats. Anyway, sorry, Brian mentioning instruction manuals flashed into. I've been listening to podcasts and watching like YouTube stuff, and like, oh yeah, it never explains this in the game anywhere. I didn't even know till I played for like 4 hours. I'm like, it's because it told you in the book. The books are available online. You just gotta Google it. Anyway, it's just it's one thing to hear a kid say that, because as we established in the pre-show, kids are stupid. But
Yeah.
but like, to hear someone my age complain that this Super Nintendo game didn't explain all the mechanics, I'm like, I want to come through the internet and punch you in the throat.
Yeah, that is disappointing.
So anyway, we're talking about books today.
Yes.
Yes.
And not instruction manuals, although some of these may be instruction manuals, but not like, game manuals.
So yeah,
Probably.
Brian had an idea that a month ago, maybe 2, that has warped and stretched and become what we're talking about today through various misunderstandings and reiterations.
Yes.
We're going to talk about
The idea
books.
right before school started, so yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. We're going to talk about books that are fictional, not books that are fiction, but books that are fiction.
Yes.
Books that aren't real, that exist only in fiction, that are notable or infamous or something to that effect. What, in their own realities or in general? I guess we'll see what we've all come up with.
Yeah.
And this is for any sort of fiction, so video games, books, movies, TV shows, whatever you could think of.
Yep.
So
And-
should we start with the most obvious one that we always use as an example?
We probably should, because it's gonna then. There's how many derivatives of it, so.
Yeah.
Like I'm in.
So the example that always comes up when people are like, huh? And this is what we did, huh? Brian was like, like the Necronomicon. And we all went, oh. Because the Necronomicon is, well, there are books called the Necronomicon now, but the Necronomicon is an invention of H.P. Lovecraft, the horror writer. For those of you that don't know, the guy behind Cthulhu, noted racist and not good, not good dude.
Yeah.
But the Necronomicon is a medieval text written by the mad Arab Abdul al-Hazred. And what it does is it reveals humanity's place in the universe. And a lot of people can't handle that knowledge, and so it drives people that read it insane.
Yeah. And it's also purposefully very difficult to understand. It's written in poetic language with lots of references buried in references that requires you to know other things and other things about those other things to make any sense of it.
It's a book of in-jokes.
God,
oh
like,
my God.
like TikTok.
Yeah. That's also part of how it drives people mad, trying to read it and understand.
There's like 6 or 7 pages that are like that. Yeah.
Okay, for anyone that's listening to the audio version of this, I really recommend you go to YouTube. Listen to like the first 5 minutes before the OJam. But yeah, it was a MacGuffin in some stories. It was a incidental thing in some stories. It was a plot device in some stories. And the name and the function, I'm not saying it was the first of its kind, but it was clearly very influential because there are lots of Necronomicons and Necronomicon-like things all throughout fiction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like there's one thought that Lovecraft got the idea in his head from Robert Chambers' King in Yellow stories.
Yeah.
Which also referenced this mysterious, completely fictional work in multiple stories, as if it was real.
Yeah, the King in Yellow is a play that doesn't exist. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And like,
yeah,
I
and there's
don't know if
something
this
about
is right or not. My
how strange
brain
it is that directly drives people to madness if they study it too closely.
Oh, so I don't know if this is right or not. My brain is telling me that like actual performing the play, The King in Yellow, is supposed to be some sort of summoning ritual or something, or that's a theory about it, or something like that.
No, there's
I'm
another
not familiar
thing.
with it. So.
See, the thing is, the writers who worked in this space and knew each other and traded ideas back and forth, a lot of them came up with all kinds of different things like that. Like Chewie, I think you are thinking of an opera that I cannot remember the name of right now. That is,
call it Steve.
Yeah, let's call it Steve. That's if it's performed in its entirety, which is difficult because there are some sections that are made for custom instruments that a reasonable person would deem unplayable. It does call Azathoth.
Oh,
Which will cause, a world-ending nuclear disaster, basically.
I hate it when that happens.
Massa de Requiem per Shugai, I think is what it's called.
Please tell me you looked that up and it didn't just come to you.
No, it came to me all of a sudden.
All right, Mike is evil confirmed. Got it.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
If we did not already have confirmation of that.
So I've got 1, 2, we'll call it 3, 4, 5 examples of not like Necronomicon with the serial numbers filed off.
Yeah, I've got at least 2, but there's some that are a little more distinct.
None.
So the first one is the other Necronomicon from. It turns out it was from Army of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
In the first Evil Dead, it was called the Naturum Demonto. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly, nor do I care.
Huh.
I thought in Evil Dead 2 it was called the Necronomicon, but It's been several years since I've actually watched Evil Dead 2, but I know they refer to it as the Book of the Dead several times, but I could have sworn the Necronomicon Ex Mortis was used in Evil Dead 2.
That's the name the Evil Dead series uses.
And then in Army of Darkness, it was the Necronomicon. But it has the power. It's an evil book bound in human flesh and written in blood that, over the course of the movies, resurrects the Kandarian spirits. It sends Ash back in time. It raises an undead army in medieval times, and it sends Ash back to the future. Just an evil book. And I haven't seen Ash vs. Evil Dead, but I'm sure it's going to come up in that show too.
I'm
Maybe.
sure.
In Marvel, I found two that are sort of that. There's the Darkhold, which has been referenced in several Marvel things, WandaVision and
Marvel's
Doctor
Multiverse of
Strange.
Madness.
Yeah.
But
It showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the season that also brought us Ghost Rider.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
There's
I
a
haven't
whole,
watched
hey,
it.
by the way, there's a whole magic is real and so is hell kind of season, and it was pretty metal.
Huh. Well, how about that? But the Darkhold, or the Book of Sins, if you're nasty, was written by an evil elder god, Cthon. Cthon?
Cthulhu with the file number smudged out. Yeah.
Yeah. As possibly the first book of magic ever. And writing it allowed him to influence the nature of magic itself. But anyone who uses it ends up essentially selling their souls to him. So, that's bad. But then its opposite number sort of kind of is the Book of the Vishanti, which, according to the description that I found, contains every defensive magic ever known or will be known. And it even seems to add new blank pages when new people gain control of it for them to add their own knowledge to it. So that's neat. But those are sort of kind of, not Necronomicons.
Yeah. I had the Darkhold and the Book of Ashanti on my list as well.
Oh,
So
nice. There's...
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, just picking up from that, I noticed two trends as I was doing this. Number one, the knockoffs of the Necronomicon. And second of all, like you just alluded to with these, a lot of duality books. For example, from The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, the Black Book of the Dead, and the Golden Book of Amun-Ra. And the Black Book of the Dead is the Necronomicon. It is how to raise a zombie army in 12 easy steps. When the characters are...
Who do you
What's that?
voodoo, bitch? Sorry,
Yeah.
what?
No, the characters are actually looking for the Book of Amun-Ra because it's made from solid gold. And they come across the Black Book of the Dead instead, and they're like, let's read from this. What harm could come from reading a book? And then the movie happens. But then they also find the Golden Book of Amun-Ra, which main function seems to be undoing the Black Book. So they're kind of a duality sort of thing. The Book of Light, the Book of Darkness, etc.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another entry I have, but I'm not going to spend the whole time talking. So somebody else.
Well, while we're on Necronomicons, do any of you have any more Necronomicons, or should I finish my list?
Go ahead and finish your list. I don't have anything of that.
There's
I think it
something.
depends on...
There's something
think
that I don't know.
Go ahead, Mike.
Depending on
Go
how
ahead.
you look
Go
at
ahead.
it, depending on how you look at it, could be construed as like instead of like you were talking about, evil versions, good versions, maybe a neutral version, something that was introduced in an occult movement called Theosophy that showed up in the late 1800s, is something called the Akashic Records, which is supposedly some mystical records of all events everywhere in the universe, just events, thoughts, emotions, whatever, in the past, present, and future. That's encoded somewhere in the mental plane that certain prophets and spiritualists can access. But yeah, since it's just a record of everything that's happened or is going to happen, it has plenty of secrets, plenty of knowledge that could hurt or help. So it's kind of like a neutral version of those things that you guys mentioned.
Wait, is that a fake book in reality?
That's
so
I guess so.
trippy.
I mean, yeah, it's not quite what we're talking about since it wasn't invented for.
I mean, it's
fiction,
right up there.
What I mean, yeah. That's it.
What?
It's hard to separate some of these things because, of course, some of these fiction authors who are writing in late 1800s, early 1900s, who are aware of that might have stuck in a reference to the Akashic records here and there. There are people later on in the mid to late 1900s who claim to be publishing copies of the real Necronomicon, that never existed. There's all kinds of weird overlap that makes some of these things really tough to determine whether or not they are real because of how they're written about and how they're treated by the authors and by people in the real world.
Huh.
What I was going to say, and I kept interrupting Mike, and I didn't mean to do that. Not this time. Was when you're asking about more Necronomicons, I think it depends on how tightly or loosely you define the Necronomicon. If we're just talking about an evil book, or as Mike pointed out, like a neutral book, but maybe an easily misused book of evil spells, that covers a whole lot of ground. But one of the other dualities I was going to mention is actually from Dungeons and Dragons. And I don't know if either of these are touched on in Baldur's Gate, but both of these were actually featured in the Magic the Gathering set a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
I think it's more than a couple at this point.
I was about to say, I think it's like 2 or 3.
The evil one is the Book of Vile Darkness, which, Necronomicon, maybe you could be forgiven for not realizing how evil that is if you don't know Latin or, can't
or
guess.
Pretend Greek. Yeah.
Yes.
The title is a pretend Greek title. It's not.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's all Greek to me. But the Book of Vile Darkness, the name is on the cover and on the spine, and you open it up, it says, to my evil peoples, what up? It is a book that was originally written by the evil god Vecna and has been added to over centuries, millennia, by other evil people, and it corrupts the mind of the person that reads it, and it can be added to. Like, you talked about how the Book of Ashanti has pages where additional defensive spells can be added. Evil sorcerers, necromancers, wizards have added to the Book of Vile Darkness over the years and even removed pages, but somehow even if the book is completely destroyed, it still regenerates. It's not, you're not able to destroy it completely. There may be a setting where you could take it to like a very good aligned upper plane and maybe a god can destroy it, but otherwise it will always come back. And it not only teaches you, oh, here's how to do evil spells, but it can kind of warp your mind and your alignment if you're not already evil. So, in fact, I think it takes a number of days to read, something like 8 days or 10 days of reading, and if you finish it, then you do get some stat bonuses, but they are not conferred without some drawbacks, because the book doesn't take over your mind, but you will not be a good person by the time you're done reading this book. You're just not going to. And then the book that is the opposite of that is the Book of Exalted Deeds. And I actually don't know as much about this book because, let's face it, it's usually the evil books that get the most press.
Yeah.
You know,
They're more fun to write about.
They're more fun to write about. You know, your party comes across a glowing book and it's awesome or whatever. And meanwhile, in one corner, there's a shadowy book that speaks into your mind and tells you to kill puppies. Well, which one is going to kind of stick with you more? So.
Yeah, which one is the stronger plot hook?
I guess that's the good question. But the Book of Exalted Deeds is basically, you know, here's all the... It's less about defensive spells, and I think it's... Well, like it says, Exalted Deeds, it's more of a record of, like, all of the good things in the multiverse that have come to pass. And I'm looking at the Wikipedia page here to make sure, because I don't know as much about this one. And it's like, a font of wisdom and enlightenment to those of pure heart and firm conviction. The book manifested in the dark corners of the cosmos where its moral guidance could bring light to dark worlds. Here's how to be a Boy Scout. Yeah. So, but once again, that duality.
Yeah,
I had a question mark next to the anti-life equation, but I don't think that's a book. I think that's just an X plus Y equals Z.
I don't know if anybody knows what the anti-life equation actually is, other than a MacGuffin that Jack Kirby came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But
so my last two Necronomicon likes, just to get them out of the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
One is from a video game. It's The Tome of Eternal Darkness.
Knew that we were going to get to that one.
Oh, yeah. The Tome of Eternal Darkness lives in an extra-dimensional room full of statues and with a floor of screaming faces held inside a huge skeletal hand. So
charming.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And anyone who, you know, gets there can read it regardless of their literacy or what language they speak. And in Eternal Dark, this is from Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem for the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of that game, you play as different characters throughout history. What it is, it's the story. It contains the stories of those people chosen by the ancient elder god thing, Mantarok, to stand against the other three eldritch abominations that are the three difficulty levels of the game, essentially.
Yeah.
But I can't think of their names off the top of my head. Zelatoth.
Zelatoth is the
green
one, the madness one. Chaturga is the red one, the tough one.
Chaturga.
And Ulyaoth is the blue one, the magic one.
Ulyaoth, there we go, yeah.
What's the purple one?
Mantarok. Yeah, Mantarok is the closest thing to a good guy we've got here. Although he's not either.
He's kind of neutral, right? He's just like, he's the god of harvests. But
something. But yeah, it also grants anyone who reads it the use of runic magic, which is what you use in the game. And it's also the menu of the game, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one is a bit obscure, but I love it, so I'm gonna throw it out here. It's The Nine Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows.
Was on my list.
Are
I
you
did not know if it
serious?
Yes. I did not know if it counted as a Necronomicon because I don't know that it really specifically. It's implied, but I don't know that it actually confers any sort of benefit, unless
Well,
you
it lets you.
consider losing all your friends and cavorting with the devil a benefit. But
Yeah, it lets you summon the devil. So
that
there are
is
three
not shown
copies
in the film to
left.
be a good thing.
This is
Sorry,
from
go
the
ahead.
movie The Ninth Gate, starring Johnny Depp, unfortunately, but his character is a loathsome individual in the movie, so
Oh
it
yeah.
fits. But he's hired by Frank Langella, who played Skeletor in the Masters of the Universe movie, among other things. But Frank Langella hires him to track down the other copy. He's got a copy of the Nine Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows, and he hires him to track down the other two copies and acquire them because there are engravings in the book that supposedly will allow you to summon up the devil, because the book was co-written by the devil itself.
Mm-hmm.
And he finds out that each of the books has engravings that have a signature of LCF. Oh, these must have been the ones done by Lucifer, which are different than the other two books. But each one only has like 3 of them or something. So
Yeah.
in
There's
the end, he
supposedly
tracks them all
3
down.
actual. Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
it ends. Spoilers for an old ass movie that no one's seen but me and Brian apparently. But it ends with him walking through a portal to hell. So after having sex with a chick who is clearly the devil. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are supposedly 3 copies of the book, but the illustration in each one is different. And it turns out there are maybe like 9 copies, but they're not all like. It's more like assembling the correct engravings versus one true actual copy. And rich people are out to get it, and sometimes they kill each other or light each other on fire. And yeah, there's a chick who is in fact the devil, and the movie is full of so much symbolism, and the main character is completely despicable. In his opening scene, he is appraising a collector's book collection, and the collector's there, and I guess due to a stroke, he's unable to speak, and his family is like, how much are these books worth? And he's gone through all of them, and what he basically does is he buys one book from them for a steal, because he says, like, this isn't worth anything, I'll take it off your hands. But then not only does he screw them over that way, but he then completely overvalues the rest of the collection to the point that no serious collector will actually buy the books for those prices. So he's just the worst.
Yeah.
Which is perfect for this movie. There are no good characters in this movie whatsoever.
And he smokes something like 666 cigarettes throughout the course of it.
Yeah. The reason I wasn't sure about it was, again, it's a very symbolic movie, and some people are trying to, like, there's one part where a character lights himself on fire to try to prove that he has the correct engravings, but then he dies because he's dumb and he's not fireproof. And my point is that it doesn't actually show anywhere in the movie anybody actually getting any benefit from this book. So it could be that Lucifer, if he wrote it, was basically like, look at what these dumb mortals will do if I tell them this thing is awesome. So I had a question mark next to it. It was on my list of influential books within that universe, but does it actually grant any sort of powers? The ending is the most clear example where clearly he's heading towards some sort of light, but then he goes possibly to hell. So good job. You get What's behind door number 666? Show him what he's got, Johnny. A eternity of pain and suffering. Awesome.
Yay!
Yay! But no, that was totally on my list.
That I really did not think anyone else would even ever think of the Ninth Gate ever. I love you, Brian.
That was one of the first things I thought of when I was discussing the topic.
What?
So
Love
Wow.
it.
it is a crazy book in a movie about this crazy book.
And that, like, it didn't make any money. I really didn't think anyone had ever seen it but me. That's awesome.
Chewy, you and I need to find the third person that's seen this movie and then see what his engravings look like and then light him on
I
fire.
think Renee's seen it.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Renee, are you the devil? Okay, she said maybe.
I was knowing her, and I don't know her nearly as well as you for obvious reasons, but I would not be surprised by either answer. So,
Oh my god. Let's talk about some stuff that isn't Necronomicon-ish.
Yeah. I have Necronomicon adjacent. The handbook for the recently deceased.
Hey, that's on my list too.
Oh, that's good.
From Beetlejuice. And technically, Beetlejuice.
I still
yeah,
need to
I said
watch
it
the
3 times.
sequel.
It's not as bad as some people said. It's not as good as the original. It's worth a watch for once. But the handbook for the recently deceased is when you die in the Beetlejuice universe, you become unless you die by suicide. If you die by suicide, you become a public servant forever. You get to work in bureaucracy. That is probably the best PSA I could ever hear due to, don't inflict self-harm. But otherwise, if you die, then your spirit is bound to a place that's close to you, like your home. It's not necessarily the place where you die, because the main characters die, by drowning, and then the place they're tied to is their home for so many, like over 100 years. And while you're there, you get a copy provided to you by the afterlife. I don't know that they ever actually say who came up with it, of the handbook for the recently deceased. And you should probably read it because it has all the instructions about what you're supposed to do, including how to get to the home office of the dead to ask for help, but you only get so many help vouchers. And it also contains instructions for performing an exorcism, which really shouldn't fall into the wrong hands, Lotho. But multiple characters describe reading it as it reads like stereo instructions. And if you don't know what a stereo is,
See,
you're
now
not as old as we are.
The last time I watched it, I had a different opinion. I don't think it actually reads like stereo instructions. I think that I can't remember the character names, but Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin. I think they're just dumb.
The character at the end, the dad, who's played by the actor that people, the Winona Ryder's father in the movie, he is also reading it, and he says, "This reads like stereo instructions."
Yeah, but he's also not terribly intelligent. But because
Winona
Lydia
Ryder's
reads
character,
it, and she gets it.
Yeah.
And Otho reads it and understands enough of it because he's slimy,
Otho,
but he's smart.
Yeah,
I really think that they're just kind of simple folks.
That makes sense.
That could be it. We know that
didn't occur to me
Lydia
till the last time I watched it, by the way. So
no, that's good. That's a good analysis, because I think you're right, because we know that Lydia is kind of in tune with the spiritual plane. It's how she can see the ghosts when no one else can. And then Otho is also kind of out there, but I also think that Otho has a very exaggerated sense of his own self-importance.
True.
So that's probably why he reads some of this. He's like, okay, I get how all of this works, And he
Do you
clearly
remember
didn't, because
how
all
he
wanted
gets
to,
rid of Otho in the movie?
doesn't he change his clothes?
Yeah, he puts
And he,
him
like,
in
runs
a
off.
leisure suit from the 70s, and Otho freaks out and runs away.
Yeah. He gets off light.
Whoops.
Beetlejuice, like, straight up murders that one couple by sending them through the ceiling. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Well,
somebody was selling like a little, I think it was like a fake book container, but it was a handbook for the recently deceased. It was like a remote holder or something, and I was like, oh, I kind of want one of those.
that's cool. It has a very, like, 70s aesthetic to the cover, where it's like, I think it's like a
50s
couple.
aesthetic.
Yeah, yeah. It pictures like a dead couple just like looking off into the horizon with a winding road or something. Looks like a
Yeah.
motivational poster or something. Yeah.
That is a good one.
Yeah. What's another one? Dirk.
Dirk,
which
you
one do
haven't said
have
much.
on your list? Yeah.
Do you want me to go with the more well-known ones and work my way to the more obscure ones?
I mean,
Or the other way.
Okay.
whatever you want to talk about, man.
Probably the most well-known one to me would be There and Back Again.
Ah, the Red Book of Westmarch. That's on my list too.
So from the Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, that and everything, the There and Back Again is the story that Bilbo wrote of his adventures in the Hobbit. So that's the Gandalf, essentially. We're gonna say recruit. That's not actually what
Shanghai.
happened.
Sort of
Bilbo.
voluntarily Shanghai.
Yeah, he got voluntold. He got voluntold about going on this quest to help Thorin Oakenshield and his company to go and recover the treasure and such in the Lonely Mountain. And so There and Back Again is essentially Bilbo's writing of the Hobbit story. And again, we won't go into all the details and all that because there are movies about that, and more preferably, there's a book about that called The Hobbit, which I highly encourage you to read. I had never read the book until college, when the big thing was the Lord of the Ring movies are coming out, and it was, all right, well, I'm going to try and see if I can read these before they come out.
Yeah.
And of course, it was like, well, you got to read The Hobbit first. And I'm going, let me read this. And I think I read the whole thing in about a month or two. Which for me was actually...
I was gonna say it's not a super long book, but you were also taking college courses at the time. So.
Yeah. Well, my problem is I had zero reference for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Like, again, I was starting from square one, and so it takes a little bit to kind of figure out that, okay, I think this is what's going on, and so on. And so eventually I got through the book, and then at that point I was like, okay, I feel like I got a grasp and everything. Okay, let's move on to the Lord of the Rings. And the first book I got through probably in about 4 months, which was, again, pretty good. The last two books took me darn near forever to get through. Granted, I had, a year to get through them before the movies came out. But that they took darn near forever purely on Frodo and Sam's side
I
of the
was
story.
gonna say it's got to be Frodo and Sam because that is such a slog.
It's the reading of it is the equivalent of you following along with those two on their journey, where it's, it really feels like, and then they climbed a mountain, and then there were rocks, and then there was another mountain, and then there was fog, and then they climbed down, and then there were more rocks. And that's really kind of what it felt. It felt like a slog to just get through.
But were
Whereas
there
the other
more
half
rocks?
of the book was, oh my gosh, I know I've got to get to class, I've got work to do, but I've just got to try and finish up this chapter. And so, yeah. But it's significant to the story because, again, it's Bilbo traveling with the company, and more importantly, coming across the ring. And how, he goes about and he does all his trickery, and, he gets the moniker of the thief, or the burglar. He's said that he's a burglar before, but he ends up getting, he really comes into his own in that because of the ring. And it sets up for the whole story of the Lord of the Rings. And it's, like I said, he talks about it in the book, and There and Back Again. So it does have significance.
Well, not only that, but There and Back Again was what Bilbo wrote. Then Frodo came back and added to it with his whole story with the Lord of the Rings. And then it was just known as the Red Book of Westmarch. And Sam added to it. I think Sam's daughter added some more after that. I forget her name. She's got a magic card for some reason. But and then it went to, or I think it went to Gondor and copies were made or something to that effect. And what is a trip about the Red Book of Westmarch is when Tolkien was writing all of this, in his mind, what he was, not in his mind because that makes him sound like a crazy person, but the meta thing that he was doing was that he had discovered a copy of the Red Book of Westmarch and was translating it to English. So like the book There and Back Again, and then the Lord of the Rings, and then everything that was added after that, it is what he is, the original source, and he's just it's an original source of this history of Middle Earth, which anyone who's read Middle Earth or read any of the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings knows it's England. He wanted to create a new mythology and mythological history for England, and that's what it was. So he was translating that to English for everyone. And when I discovered that, I was like, I can't tell if this means Tolkien was brilliant or if he was absolutely insane. I mean, obviously, he didn't really think that. So he wasn't actually insane. But
it's a little bit like found footage films, where the film itself that supposedly, it's the movie within a movie, sort of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of it was wanting to create a new mythology. Some of it was just, wanting to entertain himself and show off his linguistic skills. And some of it was to document some of the stories that he'd been telling his son, because his son would catch him on little details that he would mention one time and then forget, and then describe it a different way the next time. So someone would be like, "Hey, I thought you said they had green cloaks." He was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, nuh-uh, Dad. You said he had a blue cloak with silver tassels. He's like, this damn kid.
Oh, wow. So the reason that everything is spelled out so laboriously is because
his son
kid.
was
Thanks,
catching him on
Tolkien's
it.
Kid.
Yeah, here we go. Christopher Tolkien. Control F. What? Here we go. On one occasion, I interrupted. Last time you said Bilbo's front door was blue, and you said Thorin had a golden tassel on his hood, but you've just said that Bilbo's front door was green and that Thorin's hood was silver. At which point, my father muttered, "Damn the boy," and strode across the room to his desk to make a note.
Damn the boy. See, I only have a daughter, so I can't use that phrase, but I fully expect Dirk to use that from now on.
But yeah, how
Whenever
I
your
found
kids-
that was because I remembered a piece of it. I wrote Tolkien damn, and what popped up in autocomplete was Christopher Tolkien damn the boy, and I'm like, that's it.
There you go. I have so this is a work of historical significance within this universe. I don't know how many of you guys watched this show, but on my list I have this is the full
Wait,
title.
is this Buffy?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Buffy actually has like a couple prophecies and things like that, and I could name some of the like more obscure titles.
Okay, I'm
but
sorry I made you
they
tangent.
don't
Go
matter.
back to what you were saying.
No. The lineages and histories of the great houses of the Seven Kingdoms.
I don't even
Does
know what that's
anyone...
Is that from the Game of Thrones?
It is from Game of Thrones.
from. That would be why I don't
And
know.
the funny thing about this book is that people really don't understand what's so important about it. So at the very beginning of the first book, Lord John Arryn, who is the hand of the king, basically the vice king, so to speak, the one that actually does all the work, is dead. And the king, Robert Baratheon, is going up north to see his good friend Ned Stark, who was almost his brother-in-law, and says, "Guess what? I want you to be the new hand." And Ned is like, "If I have to," and they go back to the capital. But one of the mysteries is, how did Jon Arryn die? And at some point, Ned goes to the Grand Maester and says, "Didn't you tell me he checked out a book to read, basically?" And the Maester was like, "Well, yeah, but it was like a stupid book, and I don't know why." But even the history, I'm on this wiki page for this. It says, "For the history of this book, Lord John Arryn, the Hand of the King, borrowed the book from Grand Maester Pycelle, but he fell ill the following day and quickly died." That is what happens with this book. It is not cursed. The problem is, okay, spoilers for how long has a Game of Thrones, the first book, been out yet? Like 20 years, and the show's been out since like a long time. John Arryn was put onto the fact that none of the king's children looked like him. Looked like the king. They all looked like the queen. So maybe the king wasn't the father of these kids, and maybe he doesn't have a legit heir. And he's like, look, and this book, which several people describe as it's stupid big and stupid old, one person, Ned Stark, borrows it, and one person sees him reading it, and he's like, "Are you reading that to go to sleep?" And he's like, "I might just go to sleep, yes."
What you reading
because-
for?
What you reading for? We don't get you readers around here, but like it's all like this person was wed to this person and they had kids with blue hair or blonde hair or black hair or whatever. Blue, too much anime, sorry. And he realized, wait a minute, the genes in this one family, the Baratheon family, are like super strong. So all of his kids should have very dark hair. And they look like the queen. And they look like the queen's brother, and they spend a lot of time together. Oh no. So John Arryn figured this out and then got ill, and I'm doing the finger quotes for ill, and died. And then Ned Stark figured out what he was getting on about and was like, "Oh shoot." And then stuff happened from there. But it basically sets the rest of what happens in the books in motion. This stupid book that nobody even cared about was the straw that broke the camel's back. So that's why I have it here. It's definitely not a Necronomicon. The only spell you will learn from this is casting sleep on yourself, but it is the basis for what happens, and it tears apart whole houses and kingdoms. So there you go.
Clearly, the
When you
people.
said that,
What?
go ahead.
Oh, clearly the
I'm about
people
to change
in
the
the
subject.
world of A Song of Ice and Fire just don't appreciate like researchers.
They don't. Oh, they no.
When you said that he checked out the book and then mysteriously fell ill, I don't know anything about the story, so I thought you were going to go say something about like the book being poisoned or something, like the plot point in,
And
spoiler alert for an old ass book, like the plot point in the Name of the Rose, where
and
the that
I've
lost
realized I go
that
ahead.
lost Aristotle treatise on, was it a treatise from Aristotle on comedy? I think it was. That was the lost book that people aren't sure if it exists, and if whether it exists, and they argue about whether it's hidden away in this monastery's library. The pages are actually poisoned.
Mm. I realized I was kind of giving off a cursed vibe with that, so
No, I think he got murked.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I got anyway.
it yeah, and then it takes another 3 books to find out who and why, because it's the the Song of Fire and Ice is like politics with a little bit of dragons thrown in, but it's 99% politics. There's a reason why the show was named A Game of Thrones, even though that was the first book name instead of A Song of Fire and Ice, because it really is about these houses and their political maneuverings.
Ice and Fire.
Sorry, I was thinking of Sword.
Someone will be annoyed by
Details,
that.
details.
Yeah. Mike, what you got?
Let's see. I knew we'd be covering a lot of common stuff. One thing, though, one of the things that I had thought of when we first, when this topic was first brought up, and oh, come on, web browser, please cooperate.
No.
Is an influential book in the Dune universe that just the existence of it says a lot about the tens of thousands of years of history that happened between now and then. Is a book called the Orange Catholic Bible.
Yup.
Um, it was first, my understanding of it is that it was first assembled like after the after the Butlerian Jihad, like kind of under the influence of the Spacing Guild and the Bene Gesserit, to as a document that could like unify people, finally, as much as they could in terms of religious thought, and get rid of some of this complication, and that and get rid of a lot of the different warring factions, and just try to you know lift up just lift the level of the dialogue around religious and philosophical thought. So in this far future, there's already been like several, I think the word is syncretizations between different major religions from Earth history. Um, Everyone in the far future of in Dune is human, and they all originate on Earth. Um, so they all have this history going all the way back to Earth. So you already have fusions of Islam and Christianity, and fusions of Zen Buddhism and Islam, and Hindu traditions and other Judeo-Christian traditions, and all kinds of things. And the Orange Catholic Bible was meant to be like an assemblage of all of this thought. Um, just compile all of the important stuff, highlight all of the shared concepts and values in everything, and have something that everyone could point to. It's like, okay, this is like the valuable. This is what we consider the valuable common philosophy for human religious thought. It's referenced a ton throughout the Dune series. You see all kinds of different quotes attributed to it. A really popular one that dates from the Butlerian Jihad is thou shalt not make a machine in the image of a human mind. That's a big one that people like to point to. That's a super big controversy.
Can we bring that back now?
Yeah.
A machine.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was gonna ask, like, so AI. So
yeah, because there was a huge problem with thinking machines bringing a real threat to human culture and civilization that resulted in the Butlerian Jihad, the outlawing of any thinking machines, and that's why that commandment has such a prominent place in the Orange Catholic Bible. But if you when you look into it, like other people will say that the real top commandment in there is thou shalt not disfigure the human soul, and there's lots of different ways to interpret that. And then you kind of wonder, okay, well, when you look at the Mentats and the Spacing Guild and the Bene Gesserit and all kinds of other things, like, what are these people doing? But whatever. I'm sure they feel like they're doing the right thing.
Don't they always?
Yeah, always. Everyone feels like they're doing the right thing in Dune. That's what drives the story forward. Yeah. But yeah, so tons of references to it throughout the series, whether it was the stuff written by Frank Herbert himself or picked up later by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. Bunches of quotes, because it's supposed to be this huge compendium of human thought. I mean, whoever was writing the book, whenever they needed something, they could just make something up. It's like, oh yeah, it's definitely in there.
Could it have been in there? Then yes, it was
basically. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Why is it called the Orange Catholic Bible? Do we know?
There's the real world explanation might be because it's like a reference to the Orange League was a major Protestant movement in the real world, but there's also a made up etymology that I can't navigate to on the page because these freaking fandom wiki tabs have overloaded
so much ads and everything else.
Yeah, there's it's like an abbreviation of a much longer title.
Oh, okay.
It's just like a piece of a word.
Gotcha. Nope, I had something, and then I asked the question about the name, and then it fell off. Oh well.
Yeah.
And then I choked.
But even though it's called the Orange Catholic Bible, it's not just like Judeo-Christian tradition. It also has all the important material from the Islamic tradition and Buddhist and Hindu traditions and some other things that in the Dune universe came later.
That makes sense. Ooh, speaking of things that are a compendium of a massive amount of information that come from sci-fi, we can't not mention The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh boy.
But what's that?
Well, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is an electronic guidebook that is, quote, the standard repository for all knowledge and wisdom. In Douglas Adams' books, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series.
I've never actually read them, so
I've only read the first one, which is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I hate to say it, I didn't like it as much as literally everybody else that's ever read it. I thought it was pretty good, but everyone's like, "Oh my god, 42!" And I'm like, okay.
There are a lot of people that look at it as the Bible, orange or otherwise. So
Yeah, I think my problem is that I read Terry Pratchett before I read Douglas Adams, and I think that shaped my view on like the British silliness. Like
I think
Douglas
I read
Adams
the
is
second
slightly too silly for me.
I think I read the second book in the series first, just because I saw it on a shelf at school and thought it looked interesting. And
Was
that
that
the
so
first
long?
I didn't
Thanks
feel
for
like
all the fish.
no, the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Oh right, yeah.
And I remember reading. I didn't feel like I was missing any important information. I was just like following some silly characters through a silly adventure, and then later I ended up reading the main 5. Like it started out as a trilogy, and then he wrote another one, and then he wrote another one. So
Yeah.
I
But The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has surpassed, in some parts of the galaxy, the Encyclopedia Galactica because it has a slightly lower price point, and it has "Don't Panic" written on the cover in nice, friendly letters, which, just puts you at ease. It is loaded with utter nonsense, typos, clearly biased information, and stuff that was just written by whoever happened to be around at the time. But according to Douglas Adams, quote, though it cannot hope to be useful or informative on all matters, it does make the reassuring claim that where it is inaccurate is at least definitively inaccurate. In cases of major discrepancy, it was always reality that's got it wrong. End quote. So, yeah. But in the first book, it's like a wrist-mounted thing, I think, about the size. Is it on his wrist?
So,
or is that from a movie?
Douglas Adams purposely switched around details in different presentations of the work, like whether it was the books or TV stuff or radio or computer games. So you're gonna find lots of different
good point
descriptions and images of it.
But I do remember it was described.
I don't remember how it was in the original novel.
I remember it was described as roughly the size of a like a large calculator.
Okay.
And like in later books, it's rough. It's essentially a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just
it grows as there's more knowledge to be provided.
Yeah, see. But yeah, it's just an electronic guidebook that helps you get around the galaxy, and sometimes it's helpful, and lots of times it isn't. And hilarity ensues in the British way. But we can't not mention the Hitchhiker's Guide, because that's the other example I would use when explaining, what we were doing on this episode. I'm like, it's like the Necronomicon or the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and people would be like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dark, what's another one you want to talk about?
I got a list. I'm gonna go to the Elder Scrolls.
Hey, that's on my list too.
So, the Elder Scrolls is significant because they're the name of the game series, and currently there's 5 with a 6th one on it that has been declared that
like
it's
a decade ago.
In production. It'll be made probably in probably about 8 years.
Roughly.
Once we get to 4-digit numbers, it'll probably come out by then for episodes. So, but I don't know if it shows up in the first. Like from what is there are a total of 273 Elder Scrolls in the Elder Scrolls library during the events of Oblivion.
That's a lot of Elder Scrolls.
There's a lot of Elder Scrolls.
Considering in
The only
Skyrim
ones-
there's what, 4? 5?
There's 4. It's the named ones. There's 4 that are named that I would say are in the Elder Scroll in Skyrim. 2 of them are from the Dawnguard DLC, and that's the Elder Scroll Blood and Elder Scroll Sun. The Sun one speaks of the Curse of Light.
I've never played the Dawnguard DLC.
Oh, that's great. Tragedy. It's the Tyranny of the Sun is what it is in reference to, which speaks to ancient prophecy that foretells the eternal beclouding of the sun, and that's where if you take Ariel's bow, once it's been dipped in vampire blood and you shoot it at the sun, then the sun blots out and it just becomes red, and it means that vampires can actually be outside when the sun's out. So it makes the whole landscape dark. Like you can still see, but it makes it dark enough that vampires can officially come out and be out during the daytime, and they won't receive any, disadvantages at that point. And then there is the opposite of that, which is the prophecy. That's the one I just had. The prophecy of blood, which that one talks about the soul cairn, which is the place where the vampire lord's wife went to hide her elder scroll, the Tyranny of the Sun prophecy. So yeah, they're just scrolls that, essentially they're the MacGuffin that moves the story forward. Of you have to have the scroll, it has to be read in order to do this mythical thing that moves the story forward. Because the dragon one, I believe, is the one that sent the main antagonist in the 5th game back in time.
Forward in time.
Or forward in time, my bad. One scroll attained. The top was activate, open scroll, and bind.
All right, while Dirk scans the Wikipedia page.
But anyway.
The Elder Scrolls.
But anyway, it's just. Go ahead.
The Elder Scrolls are a trip because they're referred to as fragments of creation. Like, they're not just paper. Mm-hmm. And across all of them, apparently, I didn't know this part, they simultaneously record past, present, and future events irrefutably. What did happen, what could have happened, what might yet happen. Which, okay. Apparently you can just look at them if you don't know anything about them, and it just looks like some stuff on the scroll. But if you are knowledgeable in what you're looking at, then you'll be struck blind unless you take proper precautions. And even then, you only get a limited number of times to look at an Elder Scroll before you're struck blind anyway. And you could be driven mad just by studying the scrolls without actually reading the scrolls.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's a nice touch. That's a little bit of Necronomicon-y stuff going on there. And
Necronomy. I like that.
Right. In Skyrim, the only reason that your player character can open up and read an Elder Scroll is because this is getting kind of deep in the fiction, but the player character is the last Dragonborn, and a piece of your soul contains a piece of the dragon god of time, Akatosh. And Akatosh, being the dragon god of time, he exists outside of time. So you can open up an Elder Scroll and read it, and then stuff happens. Otherwise, you would spend the rest of the game on a black screen, which would be not great for a video game unless it's that one game that is literally that, but I can't remember what it's called. A Blind Legend? Yeah, that's a video game that's actually about being blind. So that's neat. But anyway, Skyrim is not that, and I would not trust Bethesda to make anything like that. But I've only played Skyrim, and I haven't even played all of it. As I said, I've never done the Dawnguard DLC, but I know you do have to track down 2 Elder Scrolls there. There's the one you get in the main story, and I think there's one in the Dragonborn DLC. I think. I'm pretty sure. I do know that in Dawnguard, Serana, what? Go ahead.
The companion you get in the Dawnguard DLC, she automatically shows up. She has an Elder Scroll,
just strapped to her back.
Strapped to her back
the whole time.
And then she, you gain an additional one through your adventures. But yeah. And then, like I said, you get one in the adventure because you have to get it by going through the Dwarven fortress thing. And you get one that way.
Yeah, that's the one from the main quest.
Yeah. And then there's, like I said, there's a 4th one somewhere. I don't remember where you get it.
Yeah,
but
I think it's in the Dragonborn DLC.
Yeah, you're right. It's in the Dragonborn. Because that one is a trip as well.
I've never done either of the DLCs in Skyrim. I am ashamed.
Me.
I've put hundreds of hours into Skyrim. One on stream, one on the Xbox back in the day. And I've never touched either of those 2 DLCs. Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I think both the original one and the special edition, they're in my top 5, both of them, on Steam.
Nice.
And I've also put many, many hours into the Xbox version of it as well. So,
nice.
Yeah, I've played it a little bit.
Just a hair.
Just a hair.
So what's someone else got? Don't all go at once.
I still got a couple, but I don't want to talk over everybody else.
Well, go ahead.
So these are close enough. So some of you might be familiar with a little show called Supernatural. It spent 15 seasons on the air and introduced a whole slew of supernatural concepts, ideas, things like that.
Literally never heard of it.
Never. Mike can loan you the DVDs if you still have something that will play DVDs in this day and age. But in a later season, I want to say in the 7th season, the protagonists are having to fight a type of monster they've never had to deal with before. It seems indestructible, and called Leviathans. And just at the right time, of course, there has to be a MacGuffin. A man, sorry, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. A tablet is unearthed at a archaeological dig site. You know how these things work. And it turns out it is one of a few tablets that were created at the dawn of creation that are kind of like a break glass in case of emergency sort of thing. And these cover different topics. And this one was sought by the Leviathans because it's essentially their poison pill. And a prophet, once the tablet is unearthed, a prophet is chosen, and only that prophet can actually read the tablets. So these are listed as the Word of God tablets in the supernatural, I guess, universe, and each one speaks on a particular topic. They are Necronomicon-esque in that each one is both a magical source of power, but also contain ingredients for spells and things like mix, 2 cups of flour with 9 cups of sugar and you get a cake. Or, a bomb that will destroy all of creation. Something like that. Make sure you
Note to
watch the
self:
vinegar
do not
label.
take recipes from Brian.
It's true. So, but each one is not exactly a book, but it's said to be very long, take hours to decipher, if not days, even for the prophet. And while they can be broken, the prophet can actually like put the pieces back together and they'll reassemble itself. So, the Word of God tablets from Supernatural.
That's neat.
They got a lot of lore stuff. Well, and one of the things I liked about the show, except for maybe 2 areas that I'm not going to go into, were they were very internally consistent, which as a writer, I really enjoy.
Huh. It's a shame I've literally never heard of it. Let's see.
Well,
What you
another
got?
one from mine. I'll go with my last well-known one, and then I'll move into the more obscure ones later. Is the Jedi holocrons.
Holo what?
Holocrons.
Holocrons. Okay, gotcha.
So essentially, a holocron is a cube that can project essentially a library. It can kind of think of it as like a video journal. So the Jedi who owns the holocron can record lessons, stories, histories, and it would essentially be, yeah, if we're going for the size of it, it would be a device that could record, thousands and tens, hundreds of thousands of terabytes of information into it, because they are passed down over generations and continuously added to. So the way they're supposed to be is that, like I said, they be passed down, and thousands of years into as they go, Jedi's as they're passed down from master to apprentice and then so on, that they just continuously be added on to. So you could take the holocron and go, okay, I want to know about trials of, this, and different Jedi could pop up and say, oh, well, my experience with this is blah blah blah, and they would be able to go over their experience, kind of like, again, going through one's journal and saying, hey, well, this is the challenge that I faced, and so on and so forth. Their first mention, period, was in the Dark Empire comic series, where the Emperor actually offered and showed and offered a holocron to Leia, to sort of show her, the difficulties, his plans and everything. So she actually saw like the first appearance of a Jedi holocron, or a holocron, show up, and it goes down from there. And they show up a lot in the comic series and so on. And they became such a big thing that they actually made it into the new canon storyline. And they first show up in canon in the Clone War series with Holocron Heist. So, and Star Wars: The Clone Wars, that's what it is, the Clone Wars. So that's where they first show up, and then they've shown up since then in media, in like the video game media, in I don't know if movies have really had them yet, but they've shown up quite a bit um, in everything else.
So
So
they got
yeah,
kind of they got the Harley Quinn treatment where, you think,
yeah,
oh, certainly this was from the movies or whatever, but it actually started from a different source. That's neat.
Yeah, like I said, the movies are the main source of it, but it actually showed up first in comic books, and then it became a current mainstream canon source from a TV show. So yeah.
Oh, well then maybe they pulled a reverse Harley Quinn,
Yeah,
where
in this case it would be a reverse. But like the canon storyline there, they keep pulling things from the old legends material, stuff that they like, stuff that, the fans were like, "Oh, we're so hyped and pumped about this thing. We'd love to see it." Kind of like Thrawn and other ones like Revan is supposed to be canon at some point as well. To some extent. So there's a lot that's there. Yeah. There's a lot that's there was in Legends that's been moved to canon because it's super popular. It can be applied. It furthers the story, and there's a precedent for it to be included. But that's another one, and that would be considered a story. Like the most notable one from that I read was the one Vima the Boss was a Jedi Master who had recorded the original uh, Sith Wars and passed that knowledge all the way down to the modern one, and it really had to deal with the fall of a Jedi, because at that time Luke was really going down the dark side path, and it was a person who went down that path and then eventually sought redemption. And so that's in the comic books. Luke goes down the dark path and then eventually steps away and joins back into the light, and so on and so forth. So, but that was where the holocron come in, and now a lot of the old guard Jedi have passed those holocrons down. So in the Rebels series, Ezra had the holocron from his master Kanan Jarrus, and that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head that has one.
I think so.
Other than like maybe in some other here and there stories that I'm not aware of. But yeah. But they've got lots of knowledge and everything. It's separate than the Jedi library that's on Coruscant. So these were just handheld libraries essentially. And the Sith also have theirs, where the Jedis are cubes, Sith are pyramids.
Oh, of course they are.
Mm-hmm. Pyramid power, baby.
Just gotta be
That
different
sounds
for
like
the sake of being different.
That sounds like a book from like the 70s. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Jedi are cubes and Sith are triangles.
What if I like red lightsabers, damn it?
Trevor's lightsaber's red.
Yeah, but Trevor is Sith. I've met him.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this young man? Trevor's a kid. Who are you? Sorry, that's the first time that I saw Trevor was at like the first time I saw Trevor in a long time, COVID and all that. He was way bigger than my brain was accounting for. And I was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Trevor." And I'm like, "No, you're not. Who are you?" Anyway. All right, what else we got? Ooh, I'll do one.
Down to the...
I got a fun one. Are you ready for a fun one?
Yes.
Ready for a fun one.
The Death Note. No. I mean that too, but that's not a fun one. Gray's Sports Almanac.
Ha, yes.
Oh.
That
is a book of significance.
You can tell we're all old. Gray's Sports Almanac is a sports almanac from, I think it was like 1950 something to 2000.
Something like that, yeah.
That was literally just a sports almanac. It just told you who won all of the big sporting events, for that. I think it was a 50-year period.
Yeah.
But
that's it.
This is from Back to the Future Part 2, where Marty goes forward in time to 2015 with the Doc, sees it in the window, buys it, thinking, make a little money. And Doc Brown is like, no, you can't, because ramifications and all that. And he's like, all right, fine. And then they end up back in 1955, where Biff Tannen ends up with it. There's a lot of rigmarole, doesn't matter. Biff Tannen has it. And Biff, is the bad guy. But he gets it in 1955, and it's got all of the results of every major sporting event, that you could, bet on for the next 45 years. And then he does, and he becomes insanely rich and becomes essentially, I almost said evil Donald Trump, but that's redundant. Then he becomes, 1985 Donald Trump, and runs Hill Valley and is a giant monster and had Marty's dad killed, etc., etc. And it becomes the whole point of Back to the Future 2 is to go back to 1955 and get it without altering history any further by running in, getting into a confrontation with the Biff back then, or running into the other version of himself that is also running around in 1955.
Yeah, that was a good choice.
Thank you. It's the MacGuffin that drives that entire movie. And it's a good one.
Yeah.
Also, if you haven't seen the Back to the Future movies, what are you even doing with your life? They're excellent. Yes, even the weird third one that's a Western. They're excellent.
They are really, really good.
The first one, I am convinced, is one of the... I'm working on an idea that we might do as a podcast later, or it might turn into a YouTube something, I don't know. But like movies that just everybody loves. Like, you never hear a bad thing about these movies from normal people, YouTube dickheads don't count. But like Back to the Future is one of those. You can nitpick a few things here and there, but then you're just shut up. And 2 and 3 you can find problems with. They're a little more out there. But the first movie is so good. Do yourself a favor. Go watch it. And then watch the other 2. Hurry up. Anyway, that was a fun one. What's someone else got?
I think the last one that I had on my list is, and I think some of these I keep coming back to Necronomicon-ish stuff, but from one of the first anime I ever really got into and really enjoyed the lore for, called Fairy Tail. It does not run anymore. It's not as long lasting as, say, I think still One Piece and some stuff is going on, but Fairy Tail, the basic settings, magic is real. Not everyone can use magic, but people that can use it are generally sorted into guilds and things like that. There is so many, I think 100 or however many years ago, there was a dark wizard, called Zareth. And again, that sounds like an evil name. It starts with a Z after all, right? And he was the Black Wizard Zareth. And after some time, he disappeared. Is he dead? Is he not dead? Etc. But he left behind some writings called, creatively named, The Book of Zareth. Guy was, somewhat self-important. He actually was a severe loner for lots of reasons, including the fact that his magical aura would cause people around him to die spontaneously. So he kept to himself. But whereas you might go, okay, these are evil books. Well, yes, but a lot of them are also tied to a demon. And I do mean like a demon that he made. And what's kind of interesting about these books is that if you destroy the book, you destroy the demon. And if you write stuff in the book, you can actually change characteristics of the demon. So if you were to go in and write, like, this demon really loves puppies, that demon would in fact love puppies. The problem is only a very high magic user would be able to even withstand the magic of the book to rewrite it, and it's written in an ancient language that no one except for Zareth understands. So, and trying to alter it will probably break your mind. So, yeah. And some of the later part of the story, I haven't finished Fairy Tale, but some of the later part of the story is Zareth's final demon creation is called End, or END, in capital letters, and everybody's trying to find the Book of End to, destroy the demon, but they don't even entirely know what the nature of the demon is, etc., etc. But so I had them down here because within the mythology of this universe, these books are basically everything. And I do like the little twist of each one is kind of like a phylactery, which, in D&D, for the Lich's phylactery is where they store their little soul for later. So this is kind of like that. And I like the touch of, like, if you really want to overwrite it, you can, but you probably won't be able to. So, the Books of Zareth from Fairy Tale.
I'm sorry, you say save their little soul for later, and what immediately popped into my head was Napoleon Dynamite putting tater tots in his cargo pocket.
I've never actually seen. That's another movie that when it came out, I felt like everyone was like, "You have to see Napoleon Dynamite," and I saw like 5 minutes of it, and I'm like, "Is this movie for me or not for me?" Because I feel like I'm just not laughing. So
It is. Renee and I watched it again not long ago. It is really stupid, but I love it. Lex and I, the first time I tried to watch it, Lex and I tried to watch it. That tells you how long ago it was. And I think we made it about 10 minutes. So we're like, what is this? And we stopped. I think. We might have actually watched the whole thing and hated it. I can't remember now. It's been too long. But I watched it again a few years later. Let me give us another shot. And I thought it was amazing. So.
But that actually completes my entire list. So.
Oh, wow.
No, I mean, I had. Well, some of these dualities I listed in 2 different ones, but that was one. That was like almost 10 things. So.
Hey, Mike, what you got?
Let's see.
Nope, that one's
had
done.
limited time. Yeah. Between us, we covered pretty much all of the different things that I had thought up. I didn't come up with any other unique things that haven't been mentioned yet.
All right, so it's me and Dirk. Dirk, you want to take one or should I?
I'll take one.
Go for it.
So the next one on my list is the Book of Medivh.
Somehow I knew you would have the Book of Medivh on your list.
Mm-hmm. So the Book of Medivh comes from the Warcraft universe. So Medivh was a guardian, which is an individual who has been infused with the magical abilities of the Guardians of the Tirisfal, which is a group of wizards whose sole purpose or main purpose is to prevent the demon lords, the Burning Legion, from coming to the world this takes place on, called Azeroth. And Medivh was empowered. He was he's considered the last guardian. And in this, because to take a very long, convoluted take a very incredibly long, convoluted story, just not blabber on for forever. He recorded his what he learned from demons and the void, the universe outside, the twisted nether, beyond the world of Azeroth, and he recorded it into this book that we call the Book of Medivh. And in this, eventually Medivh is killed, and the book changes hands multiple times throughout the Warcraft story. Again, it's very long and convoluted, and can be nitpicky and such that I'm not going to get into. However, how it plays into this is that the book is used to create portals between worlds. You can think of them as wormholes if you really want to go into it, but essentially they're used to create portals between worlds. Of specificness is the portal between Azeroth, the world that the humans and all that takes place on, and the world of Draenor, which is the world where the orcs come from. So portal opens, the orcs invade. That's the first game of Warcraft, and then the humans end up triumphing and creating an alliance that pushes the orcs back to Draenor. That's the second game. That's Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness. And then Draenor gets blown up and everything, and the book gets sent back, and then it gets used to bring the Burning Legion to Azeroth. That's the third game. And it's goes around, and it as of right now, I have no idea where it is in the game. It's sort of lost its significance once you get to World of Warcraft. But the big parts is that it was used to bring the big antagonist, you will say, but it's the thing that allowed creatures to move from one world to another and to invade Azeroth and push the story forward. So if you truly want to know the convolutedness of it and the nitpickiness of it, I would suggest you go either play the games or read some of the books or just do a really thorough wiki search. Yeah. Like I said, I could be here forever with it. I don't want to bore you guys with it.
Or watch the just amazingly good movie where he's played by Ben Foster and is obviously bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, great Medivh. I'm like, that's
movie.
A villain.
Yeah.
How can you tell? It's Ben Foster.
Look at everything. He had the goatee and everything. That's what I learned from Evil Spock, is if the person has a goatee, they're evil.
Right?
Maybe I should shave mine more often.
Oh, no,
Are you
I'm
implying
evil.
you're not evil?
I cannot confirm nor deny that.
Oh my god. All right, let's do another fun one. How about The Princess Bride by S. Morgenstern?
Oh, that's a good one. Is it
now,
both the name of the work and the in-universe book?
Yeah, in the book, the movie it completely ignores all of this, but in the book, The Princess Bride, which I highly recommend everyone read, the author, I can't remember if he's playing himself or someone else, but the author has memories of The Princess Bride. It was like his favorite book as a kid, but he never read it. I think it was his dad, always read it to him. And it was amazing. A swashbuckling just romance. Oh my god, it's amazing. It's essentially the movie, that we know. But he's going through sort of a midlife crisis, and he can't connect with his son, and he thinks back and he's like, I need to find a copy of this book because this is what, this was my dad, the thing of me and my dad. So I'm going to try to find it. And he eventually, this is all in like either chapter 1 or the prologue. I can't remember. It's been a while. But he finally someone tracks it down, and he's like, all right, pack it up, ship it to this address, which is his home address. He's off on a business trip or something. And he gets there, and he's like, all right, did you read it? And his kid's like, yeah. He's like, what was your favorite part? He goes, chapter 1, the bride. He goes, but what about the sword fight between the Dread Pirate Roberts and Inigo? And he's like, chapter 1, the bride. And he goes, oh, this little twerp didn't read it. And his wife goes, look, it's really hard for someone his age to get into. I don't know why you thought he'd like it. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he picks it up, and it's this long, rambling, like, political satire He's like, what? Because this does not match at all with what, he remembers his dad reading to him. And all of those bits are in there, but they're buried amongst all of the other just nonsense. Like, there's an entire chapter that... So he sets about to write The Princess Bride, the good parts version. And there's an entire chapter that's like... is like got the chapter heading, and in parentheses it says, this whole thing is just a big political rant about these two countries, which they're fictional, but, they're not fictional. Whatever. He's like, there was nothing in here of value, so I have removed them. And then it goes on to the next chapter.
I did not realize that. I've never actually read the book.
Oh, it's so good. But, yeah, so the movie, The Princess Bride, that we know of, and, even in the movie, the book that Columbo Grandpa is reading to Wonder Years kid in the bed is the good parts version.
Mm-hmm. I figured as much, because you don't hear about that other stuff.
So yeah, it is the book itself is a book of fiction, but it's a fictional book of fiction that the author is abridging into the book that we're now reading. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. And the movie doesn't let on that at all.
Yeah, well, because other than the prologue and a few like annotations that he adds in, it doesn't really matter. Like, you still get all of the swashbuckling and all that, but it's like a framing device for the book.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. I took it with me when we went to Vienna, the trip in college, and I let another girl on the trip borrow it. She's like, "Oh, The Princess Bride, like the movie?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, can I borrow it?" And I was like, "Sure," because I was done with it. And then she kept it for like 15 years. She randomly messaged me out of the blue on Facebook like a decade and a half later. She was like, "So I found this book. Pretty sure it's yours. You want it back?" I was like, "Nah, it's okay at that point," because I had another copy by then. But anyway, it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Dirk, what else you got before you pass out?
Yeah. So the another one, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the ones just to knock out of the way, is the Prophecy of Ulan, which is from the StarCraft universe, and that's the one from StarCraft 2 that speaks of the awakening of the Zelnaga, and in that it speaks that the Zelnaga are ones that they awaken, they provide life, and so the universe can do its thing, and so on, and essentially goes through this infinite cycle of rebirth and so on. But apparently, somewhere into that, there was an evil Zelnaga that arose, and its whole purpose was to break that cycle. And so this prophecy was written to try and defeat the evil one, and in it prophesied that there was only one being that could actually fix what was going on and defeat the evil Zelnaga named Amon. And that individual ends up being one of the worst atrocity makers in that universe, which is Sarah Kerrigan. And Kerrigan is a ghost, which means they're a human that can cloak themselves and essentially be a sniper and assassin. Her big thing is that she's
not a
also,
dead person.
And she she also has telekinetic powers where she can like lift things with her mind and so forth. Well, she was helping the people and everything, and then eventually was betrayed and captured by the Zerg, which are the organic beings that are just crazy and everything else in that universe. And she's turned into the Queen of Blades, and she leads the Zerg and wipes out Protoss and human worlds left and right, and eventually just sort of pulls away. Well, then she resurges and is starting to go and wipe things out again. And the character who finds this prophecy is a Protoss named Zeratul. And he reads the prophecy, and he tells the human character, Jim Raynor, in this, the prophecy of, we have to protect her, we have to collect her, we have to do what we can, because she's the one who's going to fix everything. And the whole story of StarCraft 2 is that they eventually are able to cure Kerrigan of her madness of trying to wipe everybody out, and she's able to eventually step up and defeat Amon and break the cycle by actually becoming a Xel'Naga herself, to then step into the rebirth cycle that's going on. I know, spoiler alerts for a very old game at this point, but that's the whole prophecy is a warning of, if you don't, then Amon will completely wipe out all life. He will wipe out the Terrans, and then he'll use the Zerg as an army to wipe out the Protoss, and then the hybrid are these Zerg Protoss hybrids that their whole purpose is to drain the energy from all life around them and essentially plummet the universe into darkness. So again, not good things.
So what I'm hearing is that we must build additional pylons.
That is correct.
Okay.
And so that's what the prophecy is about in the game, is saying, you guys, you need to do these things or else we're all screwed. So, your turn.
Huh. And then Tychus looks into the camera and goes, "It's about damn time." Which is apparently what he's known for, because he says it in everything I've ever seen him in.
Mm-hmm. That is what he's known for.
Okay, let's do a quick one. How about, do you guys recognize the name Tobin's Spirit Guide?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a D&D thing.
No. Well, it might be,
It's
but
not?
it's from Ghostbusters.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Yes, I was like, no, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Doesn't who quote us? Doesn't Spengler quote it?
Yeah, it's either Ray or Egon who said that when he heard the name Zool, he went and checked all the usual sources, and one of them says Tobin's Spirit Guide. And I think that's the only time it's mentioned in the first movie. I think it makes a bigger appearance in like Afterlife, but I didn't see that, so I don't care. Also, in I think, now it's been a long time since I played it, so I could be misremembering, but I think your like bestiary of ghosts you've run into in Ghostbusters the video game, I'm pretty sure is Tobin's Spirit Guide.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a great callback.
Yeah, and that entire game is just massive callbacks. Like every achievement is a line from the movies. It's brilliant. But it's also like a fun, well put together game, or at least I remember it being that. It's been a long time. It's on the list of things to stream at some point. But yeah, it's a sort of like an almanac of supernatural like occurrences and entities and facts, that sort of thing. So, yeah, we gotta show some love to Tobin's Spirit Guide. It also showed up in like the real Ghostbusters and a couple of like the other cartoon series, because there are a bunch of Ghostbusters cartoon series over the years. I don't know if y'all are aware. And yes. I think it showed up in Oh yeah, the video game I think is the other thing I was thinking of. Like I think it's also like a thing you have to use or find or something in the game in addition to being your, bestiary menu. And it might not even be that. I could be completely misremembering it. So don't hold me to that if you're like, no, like, sorry, it's been a long time. Also, when I asked about this in the Discord, the very first response I got, we have to mention it or else what are we even doing here? Is Mike, you might have more knowledge of this than the rest of us. The Codex Astartes?
Oh, the Codex Astartes. Yeah, it's a I can't remember if it's an historical document or some kind of like other kind of cultural document in the Warhammer 40K universe. So yeah, the Astartes are the Space Marines. They're much more than human. They're superhuman. And they're way taller than a normal human, way stronger than a normal human, better reflexes, blah blah blah, whatever you can think of. And the Codex Astartes documents their nature and their history.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
Who wrote it?
It was.
I
wrote this down. It was written by the Primarch of the Primarch, however you say that. I assume it's Primarch, like monarch. The Primarch of the Ultramarines, Reboot Guliman. But yeah, it is the doctrine of the Space Marine chapters, governing all aspects of organization and battlefield tactics, detailing everything from unit markings to launching a full-scale planetary assault to religious instruction and strategic supply. Some of the chapters treat it as like almost a holy text, while others see it as more of what you'd call guidelines, really. And that's what I got. But that was the very first response when I asked about it, so we got to throw that out there.
Yeah, it is very important in world because this this underlying religious fanaticism is very important to the Imperium of Mankind, and keeping the whole thing held together, keeping all the humans unified. Well, the ones that haven't fallen to chaos, keeping them all together and keeping them going, and trying to continue to expand the Imperium and fight off the influence of the other civilizations they've come into contact with.
It's a trip. The whole 40K thing is beyond insane to me. So every time I find out more about it, I'm like, what?
It's completely nuts.
So I'm dying. So Dirk, what else you want to do and more before you die?
I got two more.
Okay, do them.
I'll do the quick one first, which is the Book of Jaquan. That is from the Babylon 5 universe.
Oh.
And that one is a book that the character named Jakar. Jakar is a Narn, which means they are a reptilian, like orange with black spots kind of race. And what makes it significant is Jakar is a follower of Jaquan. That's what the G part to his name is, that his family is, not descended, but are followers of it. And the Book of Jaquan is a book that was written by a character named Jaquan way back, I think 10,000 years into the past. But the significance of it is it's considered a holy book that speaks of Narn back when the main bad guys of that universe, called the Shadows, had actually come to Narn. And the Shadows whole thing, there's a philosophical difference of order versus chaos. The Shadows are the chaos side of that pendulum. And so their whole thing is we try to force people to adapt, to change, and to evolve, and to, do all this by creating, moments of chaos and conflict. And so during that whole thing, Jaquan wrote this book that talks about how the Narn rose up and fought the Shadows by the use of telepaths. The Shadows are susceptible to telepathic abilities. That it can lock them in place and make them susceptible to being attacked. And so in the book, there's several passages that were read, such as, and the spirit of darkness moved upon the land. It screamed in the dreams of the mind walkers, and they fell destroyed by it to their children and their children's children. Then did the darkness come to Narn until it was driven out by Jaquan and the last of the surviving mind walkers. The mind walkers are the telepaths. These are passages that are referenced in the show that speak of this conflict that's coming about again, that the Shadows are bringing, and the need to stand up against the Shadows and fight them. And the significance is that they were trying to figure out, how do we fight the Shadows? And the Book of Jaquan spells it out. You need telepaths. They're the only thing that really works against the Shadows. So that's its major significance.
Babylon 5 was the... Who wrote that? Was that Straczynski?
That was Straczynski.
I really should watch that at some point, as much as I love his comic writing. Wasn't it last
the first
episode
season is
that I
the
went
first
off
season's
on how...
kind of all over. It's kind of a little bit like there's good stuff, but then there's also kind of like the generic stuff. But it's when you get into the second season through the fourth season where the story picks up and really starts moving forward. And that's when it gets really good.
Nice. So wasn't it last episode that I went off on how great his run on Amazing Spider-Man was? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been the last two episodes.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
It's when you're talking about the totems and whatnot.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, because we did Ezekiel. Yeah. So what's your other one? Your last one, Dirk?
My last one is The Word of Blake. And The Word of Blake is both a book, but also a splinter faction in the BattleTech series.
Oh.
So the Word of Blake comes from an individual named Jeremy Blake. Jeremy Blake was the leader of the Starly Communication Company, and eventually he rebrands it as Comstar. They're the people that are allowing you to send messages from one planet to another, because the laws of physics do actually still work in the universe, and this was one that's like, yeah, we still need to make the laws of physics work. So they allow for instantaneous communication between worlds within a certain light year distance of each other. So if you want to talk to the other end, it's going to take a little while to just like play phone all the way across. So they're the ones in charge of it. But he's the one who set this all up. He was the one in charge of creating this everything. And what he decided was in order to, he was alive when essentially everything went to hell. And there had been this gigantic Star League, which was all these nations, states that spanned thousands of worlds and whatnot. And he was around when the Star League collapsed, and it became all these nation states began fighting each other and whatnot. And he saw all of this come to pass, and so he decided he was going to write his personal journals about the struggles he went through during the collapse, and then the succession wars that happened after it, and so on and so forth. Well, it was decided that his writings would then be turned into sort of religious text. And so in this, what originally was a technology-based, this is, we're sending these messages through interstellar space as communication and information, started to become more of a religious order where these things were done with chants and sacred hymns and stuff like that, where Comstor eventually became sort of like they would wear robes with sacred symbols on the robes and whatnot. And it was the Blessed Blake that was the one who was, the founder of this and whatnot. And so eventually the group goes through a reckoning when one of the leads, the presenter, or the Primus, decided that she was gonna like force the issue and make everyone fall under her reign. The whole some of the scriptures talk about, bringing the light of Blake, bringing the light of knowledge and technology back to the inner sphere, and that they sometimes have to be dragged back to it forcefully. And so this was what she was trying to do, was drag everyone back under her whim, and it ended up failing miserably. And so when people within Comstar stepped up and were like, yeah, you're a crazy person, and then killed her, a group splintered off called the Word of Blake, who are even more fundamentalist than they were, originally, broke off and eventually, storyline wise, go through a holy jihad against everybody else, bombing. Like, they were crazy people who started creating cybernetic humans where they were augmenting humans with cybernetic parts, and not like, prosthetic arms. I'm talking about like prosthetic arms that had guns and blades in it. People who were more machine than man in this, but like Darth Vader on steroids kind of levels of evil. And they refer to humans that were not augmented as frails. And they essentially were nuking people. They were, releasing viruses to wipe out people. They created genetic plagues. They would just nuke planets into submission. I mean, crazy religious fundamentalist stuff. And it was all done under the blessed word of Blake, that outlined the mission of bringing humanity back to salvation.
Sounds weirdly relevant to...
prophetic as a final book to religious, or a book to be talking about.
Thanks so much for that, Dirk.
Yeah, right. You should have done that one earlier, Dirk.
Can we go back to like magic god tablets and books of the dead?
Mm-hmm.
All right, tell you what. I've got like 6 left, but these are all really quick. So there's the Death Note from Death Note. It's what makes the whole story happen. Easy, done.
Mm-hmm.
It's a notebook of one of the Shinigami, the gods of death, and anyone whose name you write in it dies. And it's got all kinds of rules and conditions, and but it's what causes the whole thing. You can write
like how they die, but heart attacks are the default. So
yeah. All right, that was easy. Mr. Babadook is a pop-up children's book that is magic and cursed, and if you tear it up, it just reforms itself later, and you find it on the shelf. And it either...
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Well, it's from the movie Babadook.
That makes sense.
And the Babadook is a movie about grief. Like, the actual monster itself is mostly symbolic. But yeah, there's a children's book called Mr. Babadook that's a pop-up book, and it's evil. And it either, like, reading it causes the Babadook to show up, or it just heralds his arrival. I don't know. Again, it's a very symbolic movie trying to suss out the lore is a non-starter and stop that.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Sarah Bellows Book of Scary Stories, from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the film adaptation. which, again, I've said this before, I highly recommend as like baby's first real horror movie. Like, it has kids in it. It's not exactly kid friendly. You know, once they hit like, I would say middle school, it's maybe late middle school, early high school, it's probably fine. They've probably seen worse by then, but it is not like a kiddie horror story, a horror movie, but it's also not like real bad. It's that for me, it's like that middle ground. Like I said, baby's first real horror movie. But Sarah Bellows is a supposed witch, and they find her book of scary stories, but it writes new stories which then come true and cause people to die. And the new stories that it writes are the scary stories from the kids' books that we all either read or avoided in elementary school. So that was pretty cool. Again, it's the book that causes the whole movie to happen. There's The Never-Ending Story from The Never-Ending Story, which is so meta that it'll make your head bleed. Like, if you haven't seen the first Never-Ending Story movie, I highly recommend it. It is awesome. Just be prepared for the swamp scene. But a lot of people listening just went, damn! Sorry about that. But in the movie, the main character, Bastian, has it and is reading it. And then, you know, as he's reading, it flips over to what he's reading about. You know, this fantasy world called Fantasia. And the childlike empress and the warrior Atreyu. You know, all of that. But it slowly gets more and more and more meta until at one point the empress, like when things are going really bad, at the climax, the empress looks into the camera and says, Bastian, what are you doing? You need to help. And he's like, what? Because it's the story of the book, but it's also him reading the book. It's a whole thing.
Man, I wish I'd thought of that, but yeah, that's a really good example.
Okay, two more quickies. The Books of Sutter Kane. Do you read Sutter Kane? From In the Mouth of Madness. Sutter Kane is essentially Stephen King in the Mouth of Madness. It's a John Carpenter movie. It's another one that I highly recommend. If you can find it, it's one of those amazing movies that's not on any streaming service, and sometimes it's not even there to like rent. But it is awesome. It's also very meta. Sutter Kane, like I said, is the author in that world, and his books are more popular than the Bible. Jürgen Prochnow plays Sutter Kane for the few minutes he's on screen, and he's so good. But Sam Neill is the main character, John something or other. But because Sutter Kane's books have such a wide readership, he draws power from that and calls forth eldritch abominations to take over. It's a very Lovecraftian story, and it's very meta and very John Carpenter. It's very John Carpenter. It is so John Carpenter. It is probably my favorite of his, even more than The Thing. I don't think it's better than The Thing, but I like it more than The Thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those books are what causes essentially an apocalypse that you don't see. And you know, he's the main character. Sam Neill is in, you know, a loony bin explaining all this to to David Warner, actually, who has come to talk to him, and he's like, but what about the people who don't read the books? And he's like, well, there's a movie. And that's when the message hits everybody, because, you know, more people watch movies than read books. sadly. And yeah, spoilers, at the end he's wanders out into a empty world and goes to the movie theater and watches it, and the final scene is him watching and like losing his mind laughing. It's such a good thing. And then finally I want to end on a high note, or at least a happy note, or at least a bizarre note.
Okay.
The nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter, Witch. Which is...
I feel like I've heard this before.
It's from Good Omens.
Ah, I saw the first season, but not the second season.
The first season is what is based on the book. The second season is original, and is still really good, believe it or not. But it's a book of prophecies written by Agnes Nutter, who is a crazy, sarcastic old witch, but she could actually see the future. Sadly, it's a very specific future, like, of her bloodline. Like, her not ancestors. The people who come after are you. Descendants, thank you. And the end of the world, which is what Good Omens is about. But she doesn't understand modern technology. So, like... Agnes... Okay, hang on. Let me find the good one. Control F... Chariot. Here we go. When Orient's chariot inverted be, 4 wheels in the sky, a man with bruises be upon your bed, aching his head for willow fine, a man who testeth with a pen, yet his heart be clean, yet seed of mine own undoing. Take the means of flame from him, for to make right certain, together ye shall be, until the end that is to come. And like... What?
Yeah.
But that is a very specific thing that happens. The Orient's chariot is a Japanese car. It is upside down, and then the man in it is on her descendant, who this is aimed at's bed, and Willow Fine is an old term for essentially a painkiller, so aspirin. And a man who tested with a pen, yet his heart be clean, means he's a witch finder. But he's not like one of the bad ones. He's just sort of there. And yet seed of my own doing means he's the descendant of the witch finder who got Agnes Nutter. Because she could see her own end. Like when they showed up to take her to the stake to burn her, she was sitting there ready for them. It was like, oh, I should have been aflame 10 minutes hence. Let's go. What are y'all doing? Like, so yeah, like all of her, there's so many of these prophecies that that pop up in the book that, again, to an outsider, they make absolutely no sense. But to the people reading the book, you're like, oh. So yeah, it's so good. And it's also a big, not a big MacGuffin, but it is a MacGuffin. The angel, Aziraphale, gets a hold of it and reads it. He sits down. He's a big book collector and he loves books of prophecies, but he knows that this one is real. And he sits down and reads the whole thing. And he's like, oh my God, I know what we need to do. Because, you know, he's an angel, so he can figure this stuff out. So yeah, I highly recommend Good Omens. It's by, sadly, Neil Gaiman, but also Terry Pratchett. It's really a bummer to see Neil Gaiman fall like that, but you know.
Yeah.
Buy it used so that he doesn't get any of your money. Because Terry Pratchett already did, so, you know, don't feel bad about him not getting any of your money. But it is my favorite book. And I don't do favorites, and it's not close.
My
favorite
really
book that I've ever read.
But...
My copy is very well worn, because I pull it out every few years and read it again, and giggle and snicker, and then I put it back on the shelf. So yeah, the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter, witch. There are a couple more subtitles, like she goes on and on and on, just on the cover. So, so what can we get from all of this? We've got books of power and knowledge. We've got religious texts. And we've got things that are super meta.
Yeah.
And that's almost everything.
Yeah. When you think about it, like, writing goes to this very primal part of us. You think back to even the first, like, the pictograms of the cave people. I don't know what the politically correct term is anymore, but the cavemen, cave women did back, when we were first starting to figure out ways to make images and words that would last beyond what was said, right? These images on walls, and those then giving way to things like the written word, like runes, which I know at least one person talked about, like rune magic and things in the terms of one of these books. We've talked about it a lot, but we have this fascination with the written word because not only is it a way to record our history, but we give it power because we not only have these words, but then what the words represent. And so, especially for like the magical ones, the Necronomicon and their descendants, it's not just say the word death, but then the word death in the Necronomicon, if spoken aloud, may also allow you to control death. So, books have always been really almost as a container of the written word, vessels of power and even if they're not necessarily magical, of history. So, yeah, like I think it's not a big surprise that we've pulled. What was this, like 30 at least? I wasn't
At least, yeah.
keeping track, but there's a reason why when I mentioned this topic and we're able, between us and then the people on Discord, we're able to come up with so many examples from Necronomicon to, the handbook for the recently deceased to the various ones that Dirk mentioned from StarCraft, Warcraft, and the other franchises to holocrons to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy being a repository for all information forever. So, yeah, it's and when we're talking about these things, generally these are, as we said, important to the stories that they're found in. Even something like the one I mentioned with the long, the history of the great houses of the Seven Kingdoms, and the people in the story are like, that's a dumb book, and yet without that dumb book, the plot wouldn't happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how many of these are the reason that the story happens.
Yeah. In the very last example for the prophecies of the witch, this is, on the one hand, a prophecy is almost unnecessary because all you're doing is saying, this is what has happened and this is what is going to happen. Which on its face is like, well, yeah, you're not telling us anything new. But then when that information is conveyed to the actors that are going through it, that changes everything. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of
Cool.
MacGuffins, a lot of like books of power or ancient knowledge or evil, repositories of knowledge, and then things that are super meta.
Lots of, like I said before, lots of dualities, like good book, bad book, and possibly neutral book, but and then so many, like, again, are represent, there may not be a good book and a bad book, but it depends on who's using it. Like the Sports Almanac. Marty probably wasn't going to get up to a whole lot of, he wasn't really going to make the world a better place when he had it, but he was not going to turn it into a living hell like Biff did. So.
Yeah, and he certainly wasn't going to go around murdering people's husbands.
Probably not.
Probably not.
That would be an interesting, yeah. To say nothing of the Medivh, so.
Ben Foster, I thought him being the bad guy was supposed to be sort of a revelation, and it's the first time he's on screen. I'm like, that's the bad guy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and that's a subcategory, like a subpoint, but like in a book, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, who's that person gonna be? And then on the screen, you don't have that choice. Like, and this is just a really, really quick example, I promise, but like in Game of Thrones, there was the knight above all knights was Sir Bellamy, and he was like the one person nobody could touch, even though he was an older man. And going into the plot, he's fired from the King's Guard, and he leaves. He leaves the Seven Kingdoms, and you don't see him again. And then later in the story, a character who's across the sea runs into a man, and he protects her from an assassin that she doesn't even see coming, and she trusts him, and she gets to know him better and better and better, until eventually it's revealed, oh wait, it's the same guy. And on the TV show, they're like, yeah, hi, I'm Sir Bellamy, because the audience knows. They look at the guy and they're like, yeah, this is the same actor from like 2 episodes ago. Because you can't do that on the TV show.
Yeah. It's almost like different mediums have different things that work.
Almost. Unless you give everyone Organization 13 cloaks.
Oh my god.
Or when, you cast Sean Bean, everyone's going to be like, ooh, that guy's going to die.
That guy's going to die.
Yep.
Oh my god.
But this has been a really interesting topic.
Yeah, for a topic that I didn't like and didn't get at first, this was really good. That's what I get for doubting Brian. My bad.
It's what you get for doubting the 4 of us and 2 hours to talk about something.
That too, yeah. All right, well, Dirk needs to get to bed, so let's wrap this up. You got any final thoughts or anything else to add there, Mr. Zirk?
No, just like I said, Chelsea had knee surgery, and so she's getting stronger and stronger each day, and she's looking forward to being able to not be stuck at home anymore.
Oh, I was gonna say when you said looking forward to, I was like kicking your ass again.
That too. Unfortunately, she'll be able to chase me down whenever she gets strong enough.
Oh, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna head on to bed, guys.
Good night, man.
Night.
I will also be heading out, so I may have mentioned that Sam has had a lot of homework to do lately, plus she's been doing driver's ed, and a million other projects. So we recorded last Monday, and I stayed with these guys until the very end, and I logged off because I knew Sam would still be doing homework. And I went downstairs, and sure enough, she was finishing an English project based on the Odyssey, and she and I did not go to sleep. So she pulled her first all-nighter last week, which on the one hand, hey, milestone. On the other hand, not going to sleep sucks. And because she only got like 4 hours of sleep the previous night, means she and I had about maybe 4 hours of sleep in 48 hours. So do not recommend. But that was, again, a huge project, and she did not have the help she should have from her classmates and group members. So, hey,
of course.
Lesson learned. Of course. But so I'm doing better now, but I did not get much sleep over the weekend. So I thoroughly enjoyed the topic. And Sam and I did run by a game store over the weekend, and they had 2 copies of Spider-Man pre-release decks left, or the pre-release packets. So sometime in the next couple of days, when she doesn't have 5 hours of homework and driver's ed, we'll crack those open and we'll get back to you guys about how it goes and how badly she beats me, because that has how it's been the last couple times. So, but in any case, you guys have a wonderful night.
All right. Night, dude.
All right. Good night.
Oh, Odysseus is in Hades 2, by the way.
Nice.
Oh, is he already gone? He's already gone.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, no sleep and driver's ed sounds like a pretty bad combination. Hope everyone ends up okay.
Whoa.
Some of this stuff got me thinking about whether I should have dug through some stuff I have upstairs, but then it's like, because the thing is, like, there's so many examples of things like this in the short stories and novels of people like Howard Phillips Lovecraft and Robert Chambers and L. Sprague de Camp and blah blah blah, that I didn't want it to just be a Necronomicon episode, and what have you, all kinds of different obscure things that are basically, like you said, just reskinned Necronomicons.
Yeah, you got to file the serial numbers off, and you're good to go.
Yeah, put a cowboy hat on it. And it's great. Some of the things we're talking about, like let's see. At one point in college, I got a little paperback book called the Encyclopedia Cthulhiana, and it's basically a little encyclopedia full of cross-referenced explanations of all kinds of different things from that whole circle of writers, and summaries of important places and characters and books and plot points and shared elements, all cross-referenced to each other, and related to the kinds of things we're talking about here. I remember there was one day when I was just at home over the summer, where I just sat in a rocking chair in the living room and read almost the entire thing over the course of a day. And when I went to bed that night, when I tried to go to bed that night, my head was buzzing with rotating and intersecting thoughts and connections and everything. And I think I got a small taste of what it's like to be driven insane by esoteric and forbidden knowledge that you find in these fictional books.
So wait, should I say nice or?
It was a very, very strange sensation, but thankfully it only lasted, however many hours it kept me up that night.
Huh. Well, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
Mike, why are you like this?
Maybe because I sat there and read that book all day.
That's probably it. Think we might have found a canonical answer. No, I'm not dying. Well then. As for me, I've been streaming Baldur's Gate 3. I'm almost done. And I started Hades 2 because it released in version 1.0 finally. After being in early access for a year and a half, I want to say, something like that. I refuse to play games that aren't finished. Like, I love the fact that early access exists and that developers can use it, but it's not for me. So I just wait for the full release, and the full release happened, and oh my god, it's so good, Mike.
Good.
I can see where they're... This is the first sequel that Supergiant has ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they did Bastion, and then Transistor, which are completely unrelated, and then Pyre, which is completely unrelated.
Mm.
I think that's all before Hades. I'm pretty sure that Hades was their fourth game. Oh, hang on, I can look. Bastion, Hades, Hades 2, Pyre, Transistor, yeah. So this is the first time they've ever done a sequel, and I can tell where they're like, okay, last time we had, the cute character, so we'll put a cute character here. And oh, here's our military guy. It was Achilles in the first game. Well, it'll be Odysseus in this one. So that's kind of like, you guys didn't have to draw the exact same characters archetypes again. But I'm only 2 streams in, and these games have way more content than you could remotely get a handle on, and way more characterization than you can remotely get a handle on in 2, 3 or 4 hour streams. So it could be that I'm supposed to think that, and then they'll do something with it later.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the new abilities that your character had. Your Melanoe this time. And I love what the new boons do. So like Zeus in Hades 1 would, if you got the Zeus boon on your attack, it would cause,
right,
when you hit an enemy, it would cause a lightning shoot out and like hit other enemies nearby. So it was really good for cleaning out hordes of small enemies. And in this one, it's all about lightning strikes. So, and like the one, so you've got an ability that puts a circle on the ground that grabs enemies or slows them if they can't be grabbed, which is brilliant. On my first run, I had no idea what it did. And then when it was explained to me, I'm like, oh, that's amazing. But Zeus's boon for that ability causes lightning to repeatedly strike one enemy at a time in the circle. So it's good for taking out hordes of small enemies, but it's also really good for really knocking down one strong enemy, which his original stuff didn't do so much. So it's really cool how they've shifted things. I'm also proud of me for being able to call what some of these do. Like when the first time Hestia popped up, I'm like, is this dots? This is going to be dots, isn't it? Guess what, Mike? It's damage over time. I was like, nailed it. So but they changed Poseidon. Instead of just pushing enemies away with your attack, which makes it a pain sometimes when you're attacking, you want to get your combo off, but the enemies are being pushed away. The way it works now is when you make contact with an enemy, enemies behind it get pushed away. And I'm like, that small change makes Poseidon's ability, boons, so much more user-friendly for so many more weapons.
That's great. Yeah, those are really... Yeah, I remember the knockback enchantment in Diablo games. At first you're like, oh, this is cool. And then later on, as you play more, you're like, this is...
Like, come here.
Really
come here.
Yeah, come back here, please.
So, yeah. I'm still getting the hang of everything, and I haven't gotten my first clear yet, but I'm getting there. I made it to Kronos, damn it. And instead of a Cerberus to pet, there's... I don't know. I call it a weasel. I don't know what sort of critter it is. It could be a ferret. It's a weasel and a dog. And you can go pet them. And it's not the same as Cerberus, but they're still cute. So yeah, I've taken to doing Baldur's Gate streams because nobody comes to those anyway. But I'm determined to get the entire playthrough on stream so I can get the entire playthrough on the Stream Archive YouTube channel. That I can't stop now because I'm so close to the end. So I've been streaming that during the day, and then Hades 2 is at night. And once I'm done with Baldur's Gate, I'm gonna be able to finally break myself of the horrible habit and go back to like Final Fantasy VI, which I stopped right at the midpoint, Mike. But it's okay because a year passes between the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half. So what's a few months?
So yeah, so taking a break isn't so bad.
Yeah, it's canon. I've also been playing Hitman again, like out of off stream, for fun. I know playing video games for fun. What the hell? And I'd forgotten how much I love Hitman.
Uh-huh.
It's so good. I've been doing a bunch of the escalation missions that I never touched, and man, escalation missions, Mike, are where it's like here's like your target or two.
Okay.
And it gives you like your target or two, however many targets you have, and a method to kill them and what to be wearing. Sometimes it's whatever, wear whatever, kill them how, just kill them. Other times it's very specific, kill them while dressed like this in this method. But because they're on the regular, giant stages, but they're very focused. So you learn like that part of the stage very well. Or the level, I guess. Because the first one is like, all right, kill that person. Cool. And then the second, the modern escalations have 3 levels. And then the second one would be like, all right, do that. And it either adds more targets, or it says like you have to hide all the bodies of unconscious or dead people. Or if you get seen at all, game over. Or it's some sort of complication of some sort. And then the third one ramps it up to like even more ridiculous, where you see it and you're like, what? Like the last one that I was doing was, all right, kill these 3 people with accidents. Well, they're all walking under chandeliers. All right, no problem. Just throw a coin. They'll walk over, shoot the chandelier, boom. Done. Second one was those 3 people with accidents, and then 2 other people with accidents who were in different parts of the map. I'm like, So it took me forever to figure that one out. How to get those 2 with accidents. I'm like, And then the third one is exactly the same thing, but when you kill your first one, a timer starts, and you have to kill the second one within a minute, and you have to kill each one within a minute of the last one. And I'm like, I can't eat. It took me like 12 minutes to do it when I had no time limit. There's no way. So, yeah, that's one I haven't actually beaten yet, but it's stuff like that. It just keeps adding and adding and adding until you get really good at that part of the map, or your head explodes. Your head explode. Also, Renee and I have been watching Batman the Animated Series. Such a good show, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it holds up so well. Occasionally, we're in the first season, some of the animation is a little wonky here and there, but only here and there.
Yeah.
Hard recommend. In case anyone's like, oh, I've never actually watched it. You should watch it. It's so good. It is the definitive version of Batman for a lot of people. Myself included. Yeah. But all right, anyway. We've been going long enough. Like way too long, in fact. So, don't forget, you can go to patreon.com/themanapool to become a lifeguard and get the good stuff. And I can't find the right link for the list of patrons. Here we go. Lifeguards. Thank you to Al, Kimho, Scuzzo, Jake Jansons, Michael, who's that guy? Team Ulysses, are you? Violet Moon, Jason Kaus, Casey, Jason Doan, ALK Alters, and Andrew Odie. And to everyone else, all of you, thank you all. We love you all. But we're not going to name you by name. Sorry, that's just how it goes. Especially Steve. Screw that guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been episode 735 of the Mana Pool, all about the fictional books in fiction, which isn't confusing at all. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and if the book is glowing, maybe don't read it.